everyone, my name is Stacia and welcome back to another Storytime session. And today we're going to discuss another spiritual awakening that I had. This is a really short spiritual awakening, and this took place in Providence, Rhode Island back in 2016, 2015. And at this time, I was still working in the strip club industry, but I had been attending a non-denominational Christian church where the awakening took place. So I was really focused on self-improvement, right? Trying to liberate myself and move out and away from that industry. But anyways, back to the spiritual awakening, right? So at this church, they had like this Wednesday night service, and it wasn't like a traditional Sunday service. It was more like a gathering, and the pastor would begin the Wednesday evening with like a little passage, kind of put us in the direction and the energy of what we were doing. So, on this particular Wednesday evening, we gathered in prayer. The objective was to pray over the community. And for those that are aware and know anything about Providence, Rhode Island, the city can be really rough, and there's a lot of poverty, and just kind of like a lot of chaos going on there, right? There's like so many strip clubs and just this tiny little city. There's so much stuff going on, kind of like in the underworld. And yeah, so we got together after the pastor shared his passage with us and got us in the vibe. We all gathered at the stage. Sorry, I got cut off there by my alarm. But so we all gathered at the stage together, right? So we're ready for prayer, and we close our eyes, we go into prayer. And this is what's really interesting. So I don't know, I understand like the concept of astral projection, and it's not something I typically practice, or I practice really at all, which kind of sounds strange, right? Because I have a practice with meditation. I guide people through the inner worlds in different realms and dimensions and try to assist in opening portals, right? Holding space for others to have a container to create deep healing, right? So what kind of happened is during the prayer, all of our intention, the group energy is to serve the community and to assist the community. So I find myself flying through the community, and my soul was on a mission at this point. My soul understood the assignment and was deeply divinely guided and knew the frequency or the energy in those other terms, where to go and what to do. So I found myself at this, the persona of Stacia, the awareness of the personality that I have, wasn't at that higher level. It was kind of more of a passenger to what was taking place. Like, I was conscious and I was aware, but I wasn't the driving force at this time. So I found myself in this small apartment in Providence, downtown Providence, Rhode Island, and I was in this little girl's room, a Black American girl, and she was really sad. She was dealing with like a lot of loneliness and a lot of pain, and she was suffering. And so I did everything that I could. I poured all of my energy into prayer for her and to giving her love, and really just bringing in these high frequency energies of compassion and love to her, and just not wanting her to be alone, and deep prayer to Father God, the divine, the angelic realms, for assistance for this child, right? And this is like, I think a lot took place in this moment with her, and I don't have the full capacity to like recall everything, or the awareness right now to hold all of that information. And yeah, so it's interesting because I was suffering on my own journey in my outside world, and trying to transition, and really kind of deepening my spiritual calling through the church and being part of a community while trying to elevate myself. But also on another level, my traumatic childhood it was like I have this like resonating signature energy that I could really understand her. It's like I could walk a day in her footsteps. And I think that's important because I think that's part of it, but I'm not sure. I'm open to that. And as time goes on, these revelations and these insights of these spiritual awakenings and spiritual events that took place in my life, as my consciousness grows, my awareness grows, I'm able to hold more, and I'm able to perceive more information, right? So um, all of this beautiful, this miracle, this beautiful thing took place. And, and I think a lot of this also has to do with the leadership from the church and the group intention, and just the faith and the belief that I had, right? I didn't have anything standing in my way saying, no, you can't do this. So that group energy was really, I think, potent for that as well. And so coming back to my body, and we were still in prayer, right? So he must have triggered us back. And so I had that level of awareness of, because we're multi-dimensional beings, right? So one dimension of myself is in the church praying with the other patrons, right? Or the other, I don't know what you call them, churchgoers, patrons, like a shop. So yeah, there's one dimension of myself is within the church praying in this group, right? Another dimension of me is in this room praying and being present with this child in her energetic field and pouring love into her, right? So then that awareness comes in. So this is almost like another dimension, or this awareness comes in from the pastor calling us back home to the body, right? And so when I come back and we're still in prayer, like closing the prayer, so this is another multi-dimensional facet, not facet, but multi-dimensional layer of being, is also being in the prayer consciously with the group, closing the prayer, and I'm still in darkness with my eyes closed. And I see these two artificial beings, these two robots. And they were completely like a robotic skeleton almost, or maybe, I don't even know if it was an artificial skeleton, but their eyes were like laser bright red eyes, like coming out of their head. And this is really frightening to me because I didn't see that. They were the two that stood out to me. And, I see them as now, as kind of like monitor beings, these artificial beings that were monitoring us, monitoring the church, seeing what we were doing, aware of what I had just done. And it was really frightening. But on the outside, at the time, I was just like kind of in shock, right? Like in awe, like, the veil, Spirit God had been lifting the veil gently and showing me. So not only did I perform like this miracle and become part of this energy, to assist the community and really bring goodness to a place that had a lot of heaviness and darkness and sadness. But I was also shown another side to it, and a heaviness there and a darkness that was kind of like, maybe it was a neutral thing. I'm still not sure, but my intuition is telling me that these were monitored artificial beings, right? And I didn't feel safe with them. So as the prayer closes and we open our eyes, I look to where I had saw these beings in the realm of spirit, right? And they were two teenage girls, like two white American Abercrombie and Fitch American Eagle girls, between 14 and 16 years old, sweet looking, joyful, pretty, not what you would expect when you're thinking of like a scary, artificial being or a monitoring spirit or whatever. And I just remember, and actually this memory just came to me now, is that they were also in my awareness earlier that day, because I remember thinking to myself, oh, I haven't seen these girls before. I mean, this was a pretty big church, and not everybody goes all of the time, and it was a nice thing to do. I didn't commit to every Wednesday, especially after this experience. I think I only went to a couple, and I was kind of like, that was enough for me. But yeah, that was really interesting, right? So it's just like a small spiritual awakening, nothing too crazy. And, something I want to add to this is that my ability and my consciousness to hold the information, it almost like I had to compartmentalize it, because where my belief system and my ability to hold and even like my threshold for fear and my threshold for faith, this all was a part of this awareness, because I wasn't really able to grasp it, and put too much energy into it, because I just didn't have the capabilities. I was also still working in the strip club, and I was trying to get myself out of that energy. And I knew that was like the seedy, like underbelly of Rhode Island, right? And especially the industry that I was in, it was a really tough industry. So yeah, I had a lot of other things that I was trying to climb my way out of, energetically, spiritually, and physically too, in my 3D material world, right? So, sometimes for me, I can speak on for myself, and I don't know about everyone else, but these spiritual awakenings come, right? And sometimes they're these small little doses, and it's kind of like planting a seed. So the seed was planted, the veil was lifted. I saw both sides of the coin, in the world of duality. I was shown both. And, it's also really beautiful and empowering. And one of the reasons why I think I had to put this on the back burner was because I couldn't manage through the fear. And as my faith continues to grow, and my ability to move through fear and to move through that illusion of fear, I think these gifts and these awakenings and the ability for our consciousness and our mind to hold this information, right? Because if you follow the belief system or the school of thought of like divine father, divine mother, divine father God, divine mother God, being these beings of energetic love, they're going to want to gently expose us to what we can hold. It's just like a little child, right? We're not 5 years old all of a sudden just like multiplying and writing perfect sentences and stories and reports, and able to understand and internalize and have these critical thinking skills at a young age. So it's kind of like that. It's like being recognizing where my soul is and my where I'm at on this consciousness spiral and receiving this information. So yeah, that was like about 10 years ago, 11 years ago. And yeah, it's a beautiful moment. And I would love to hear all of your spiritual awakenings, or any of them, if you want to DM me privately or leave a comment, or if you have any insight, if this experience has triggered anything in you that you want to share, I'd love to hear about it. And until next story time, I hope you have a wonderful day. Much love. Bye.